And today we are really getting into something fascinating.
We really are. We're tackling a premise that's...
Well, it's so audacious it kind of shifts the entire framework of success. The idea that massive achievement isn't about hard work.
Right. Or, better marketing funnels.
Exactly. It's about something far more hidden, esoteric, and frankly, metaphysical.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We've been handed sources detailing the principles that elite achievers are using. And we're talking about the 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs, top-tier athletes, professional actors.
The people at the very top of their game.
The very top. And they credit their consistent and what looks like effortless results, not to the strategies you see on social media, but to this profound internal alignment. They claim they actually transcend effort.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because the core idea here is that we have to stop looking outside ourselves for the mechanics of creation.
Right.
These people aren't just working smarter. No, not at all. They're operating multidimensionally. They shifted their beliefs, their internal frequency, and the universe just responded. It aligned circumstances in their favor.
So that's the real mission of this deep dive then.
That is precisely the mission. It's to define manifestation, not as changing the world outside, but as mastering yourself inside. The sources are so clear about this.
What do they say?
That reality is fundamentally just a reflection of you, of your current level of consciousness. So if you're struggling, if things feel hard, it's because you're engaging in a game where you haven't been given the rules.
And the primary rule is that my external life is just a mirror.
It's just a mirror. So the real goal is achieving the internal state of your desired reality before the world proves it externally. This isn't about new techniques.
It's about fundamental laws.
Timeless fundamental laws, exactly.
So we're really looking at the universal operating system today. And the first, and maybe the most dangerous bug in that system, according to the sources, is this internal entity that fights to keep us trapped.
Yes.
Let's just jump straight into that spiritual battleground.
Let's do it. The first principle that the source material really hits hard is this core conflict. The moment you truly decide to create a new desired reality, you immediately threaten the existence of your old frequency.
And that old frequency is the enemy.
It is the single greatest obstacle you will ever face, bar none.
An entity dedicated to our stagnation. I mean, that sounds dramatic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it also really resonates with that feeling of hitting self-sabotage right when a breakthrough feels like it's just around the corner.
It's not a coincidence.
So what exactly is this old frequency, and how in the world did we create this internal nemesis?
The best way to conceptualize it is as a spiritual doppelganger, a twin of you that exists purely on the spiritual, or, the vibrational plane.
Okay.
And it's defined by the compilation of everything from your past, all your memories, habits, limiting beliefs, all that emotional residue. It all gets compiled into this thing.
So because everything has to exist vibrationally before it exists physically.
You got it. This spiritual twin is what dictates the limitations of your material life. It sets the boundaries.
And it was literally brought into existence by something the sources call thought forms. What are those?
Yeah, think of thought forms as like discrete units of mental and emotional energy. The sources remind us that the average person has somewhere between 6,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. It's a huge number.
An unbelievable amount of mental traffic.
It is. And when these thoughts are repeated, especially the negative, the fearful, the limiting ones, they start to pile up. They accumulate emotional energy.
So a thought isn't just a fleeting idea.
No. Imagine those thoughts are like stones you're placing on the ground, one by one, every single day. Over years, those piles of repeated emotionally charged energy, they start to coalesce into an energetic mass, a distinct entity.
The old frequency.
That's it.
So it's essentially the physical, energetic residue of our unexamined past.
Exactly. And because it's a form of energy, it has one single goal.
To survive.
To exist. To maintain its form. And, crucially, to shift from the spiritual plane into the material plane. It wants to be made real.
And how does it do that?
It does this by keeping you calibrated to the emotional patterns that created it in the first place, even if that calibration leads to misery or, total self-destruction.
It doesn't care about our happiness.
It can't. It operates based on the intelligence you gave it, which means it knows your vulnerabilities intimately. It knows exactly where to push.
So if we can understand its psychology, then we can start to anticipate its attacks.
That's the key.
The sources outline 4 key psychological traps that this old frequency uses. Let's really detail these characteristics because this is where we get the blueprint for our defense.
Okay. The first characteristic is that the old frequency is profoundly needy.
Needy.
Incredibly needy. It's an attention seeker. Because attention is where energy flows, and emotion is energy. It literally needs your emotional energy to survive.
So it manufactures drama to get that energy.
Constantly. It will sway events, circumstances, people in your life, all to reflect that old painful reality. It's forcing you to redirect your focus and your emotional energy back onto it.
Wow. This explains so much. It's why when you start a new diet or you finally launch that business, suddenly your car breaks down.
Yes.
Or you get into a fight with your partner, or an old trauma just bubbles up out of nowhere. It's not just bad luck.
It's defense mechanism. It's creating a disturbance so profound that you have to stop focusing on the new frequency, which is literally starving it to death.
And instead, I pour emotional energy into the chaos.
And you feed it. It's the ultimate energy parasite.
Okay, but hang on. If the old frequency is fueled by my negative emotions, doesn't dwelling on its psychology, focusing on this enemy, doesn't that actually feed it? How do we acknowledge it without giving it that attention it craves?
That is a critical question. The goal isn't to fight it. If you fight it, you're giving it energy.
Yeah, resistance.
The goal is to understand its mechanics so you can deny it the fuel. You observe the symptoms without participating in the emotional reaction. And this leads directly to the second characteristic.
Which is?
It is sadistic.
Sadistic.
It feeds on pain, sadness, frustration, irritation.
It finds its nourishment in our misery.
Precisely. These low vibration emotions are like an addictive drug for it. And they act as a kind of glue that binds you to that old reality.
And because it's a construct of my past, it knows all my weak spots.
It knows exactly which buttons to press. If you have a deep-seated insecurity about money, the moment you attempt to invest or ask for a raise, it will deploy a whole arsenal of specific thoughts and fears tailored to that exact insecurity.
All to cause maximum resistance and emotional drain.
Exactly. It leverages familiarity to keep us trapped in these cycles of suffering.
And if it's fighting this hard to stay alive, it must be terrified.
It is, which is the third point. It's scared.
So the fear I feel isn't even mine.
A lot of the time, no. That fear you feel when you're moving forward, that hesitation, that sudden rush of doubt, the self-sabotage that just appears out of nowhere, that is often its fear of extinction that it projects onto you.
It's broadcasting panic through my own emotional channels.
It is. If you were truly certain of your desired outcome, that fear wouldn't have a foothold. But this entity, sensing its imminent death, is trying to use your system to cause hesitation.
That reframes procrastination completely. It's not a character flaw. It's literally a fight for survival by an energetic parasite.
And it's so effective because fear, according to the sources, is nothing more than ignorant faith.
Ignorant faith. I like that.
It's faith, but it's misdirected. You're putting your faith in the worst possible outcome. And since fear is such a potent emotional frequency, when it projects that onto you, it temporarily overrides the positive frequency you were trying to hold.
And the universe being impartial.
The universe just registers the stronger signal. It registers that potent, fearful frequency and begins manifesting the worst outcome, which then confirms the old frequency's desperate attempt to stay alive. It creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure.
And the fourth characteristic.
It is intensely reactive.
Reactive.
It wants chaos. It will manufacture adversity. It will short-circuit your higher thinking. Its whole goal is to get you caught in a whirlwind so that you're operating from a lower survival state where you have to react emotionally.
Why is that emotional reaction so important to it?
Emotion is the supercharger of frequency. Every single time you emotionally react to the external chaos it creates, screaming at a driver in traffic, falling into despair over a small setback, you are supercharging the old frequency. You're reinforcing the whole cycle.
So the mechanism of defense is crystal clear then. We have to stop reacting and start responding.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the practical distinction there because that feels crucial.
It's everything. Reacting is what the sources call the death mode or the default mode. It means allowing the external reality, the old frequency's projection, to destabilize and imbalance your internal state. You're letting the mirror dictate your face.
And since reality reacts to me?
You get stuck in a trap, a cycle that perpetuates external imbalance.
Okay, so what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Responding. The intentional design mode.
Yes. Responding is all about maintaining your internal balance despite the external chaos. The ultimate practical defense is to view whatever adversity is happening through the lens of your desired reality.
So you don't engage with it on its level.
Never. You have to constantly impose the question, how would the version of me in my desired reality, the version that already has the wealth, the health, the success, how would they think, feel, and act about this situation?
I love that. So if the wealthy version of me would just find a lost $50 bill inconvenient, not catastrophic,
then you choose that feeling. You choose inconvenience. This reframes the entire situation. It denies the chaos, its emotional fuel. You use your internal state to balance the external reality rather than the other way around.
that sets up the internal defense perfectly. Now let's shift to the playing field itself. How the universe actually judges our efforts. We've established this. Old frequency is fighting for survival.
Yes.
But that battle is happening inside a system governed by laws that
Yes.
they don't care about human morality, do they? This feels like the reality check that separates true mastery from just, wishful thinking.
This is one of the hardest truths for people to swallow, especially in our culture, which really champions virtue. The universe is a perfect system of laws, and it operates indiscriminately. It's impartial.
So it only registers one thing.
It registers only one metric for determining the reality you receive, and that is frequency, your current dominant state of consciousness. That's it.
This explains that deep paradox that we see all the time.
Yeah.
Like good people suffer and sometimes, ruthless people succeed.
Because the nicest people often have the worst frequencies. They might be kind to others, absolutely, but internally they're just riddled with low confidence, self-doubt, fear of rejection, worry.
All these low vibration emotions.
And that low frequency corresponds directly to a reality of suffering and misfortune. Conversely, the sources observe that some people we might label evil or ruthless often have the best frequencies.
How so?
They possess this ironclad confidence, an unshakable certainty in their own power, and success in this universal context is purely a result of that frequency, completely irrespective of our human moral constructs.
It's a really stark reminder that the universe isn't operating on some reward system based on human definitions of justice or fairness.
It operates purely on vibration. The sources underline this. They point to ancient texts that have been saying this for thousands of years. Matthew 5.45, that the sun rises on the evil and the good. The rain falls on the just and the unjust.
The physical laws don't care about your character.
Exactly. Gravity, fire, electricity, they treat everyone the same regardless of their deeds. Our suffering often comes from clinging to this illusion of polarity. The idea that if we're good, the universe somehow owes us a favorable outcome.
And that just leads to disappointment.
It leads to disappointment when the impartial law of frequency just reflects our internal doubt instead of our good deeds.
So if the universe is this impartial, frequency-addicted system, how does it ensure that our cycles, good or bad, persist? This brings us to the two M's that define its efficiency.
Right. The universe is always seeking energetic equilibrium. It loves the path of least resistance, and it uses two fundamental processes to achieve that: magnify and maintain.
Okay, let's look at magnify first.
The universe is constantly seeking its frequency fix. So whatever dominant emotional frequency you put out, whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't care. The universe immediately uses people, conditions, and events to amplify it.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. If you wake up feeling frustrated about a work project, the universe will immediately manifest 3 little micro events to make you more frustrated.
Like what?
A slow elevator, a grumpy colleague, a sudden traffic jam. It acts as an echo chamber for your emotional state. You are not a victim of those events.
The events are victims of my frequency.
The events are victims of the frequency you gave them. That's the perfect way to put it.
So it's an energetic snowball effect.
Yeah.
The universe just throws more packed snow onto whatever trajectory I start rolling on.
Exactly. And the second M, maintain, is what explains the rigidity of these cycles, why it's so hard to change.
Maintenance seeks balance.
Yes. The universe works relentlessly to keep you calibrated at your existing frequency level because it thrives on predictability and efficiency. It wants to know what's coming next.
And this explains, on a metaphysical level, why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer.
It's the same principle mentioned in Matthew 13.12. Whoever has meaning has that frequency to him more will be given. If you are calibrated to a frequency of poverty or lack, the universe will expend maximum effort to magnify and maintain that poverty. It ensures consistency in your reality.
That sounds like a terrifying energetic trap.
Yeah.
If the system is designed to maintain what I already am, how do I ever escape? I can't just break the cycle.
You can't break it. You're right. You must switch cycles. And this necessitates the unavoidable law of sacrifice.
Which is really the law of exchange.
It's the law of exchange. The law of energy conservation is absolute. Energy can only be transformed or transferred. It can't be created from nothing. So to receive a new reality, you must exchange your current one.
This is where we need a really crystal clear analogy. If the substance being exchanged is frequency, how does that physical exchange actually manifest in our lives?
Think of it like a computer's hard drive. Your current frequency is a massive installed operating system. It defines everything you do, every program you run.
Okay.
You cannot download a massive upgraded operating system, your desired reality. If your hard drive is already full of the old system's files, it's impossible. You have to create the energetic space first.
I have to liquidate the old energetic investment to fund the new one.
You have to. The sacrifice isn't monetary or physical. It's the relinquishing of the familiar frequency, the one you're used to.
And the sources state that frequency is the most addictive substance in the entire universe. So why is letting go of a painful or limiting frequency so incredibly difficult?
Because the mind craves familiarity. It craves the known energetic state, even if that state is painful. Change, even positive change, registers as discomfort. It registers as a threat to the system.
The old frequency has been feeding me this familiar state for decades.
And it's comfortable there. So to truly switch cycles, you have to be willing to sacrifice the 7 keys that define that old frequency.
Okay, what are those 7 keys? What are the things we have to actively give up?
They're the pillars of your old energetic identity. First, your current limiting beliefs about what you think is possible. Second, your lack of conviction, or even the negative conviction you hold that things won't work out.
Right.
Third, your perception of reality as difficult or limiting. Fourth, your emotionally charged negative thoughts. Fifth, your ingrained habitual focus on what's missing, on lack.
And the last 2.
Your knee-jerk reactions to adversity. And finally, your low expectations for the future. You have to be willing to give up every single piece of evidence and internal programming that defines who you've been for the sake of who you could become.
The journey to this new frequency, then, it starts entirely internally. And the key that unlocks that door is self-mastery. I mean, the source material is really blunt about this. How can you dictate reality if you cannot even dictate yourself?
It's the fundamental question. Mastery of the external world begins with mastery of the internal self. The ability to follow through on your own conscious commands, that is the currency of creation.
And this just dispels the whole illusion that some people lack discipline.
No one lacks discipline. They are just disciplined by the old frequency. They are incredibly disciplined in their negative thinking. They are disciplined in maintaining the patterns they claim to hate. And they're disciplined in their reactions.
So the energy for discipline is there. It's always there. We just need to redirect it by imposing our conscious will over that default mode of operation.
Exactly.
So how do we start building that internal authority? Where do we begin?
By establishing your word as law. Your mind is an energetic scorekeeper. It keeps a running tally. It tracks every small instance of inability to follow through, which the sources call ITFT. So if you tell yourself you'll work out tomorrow and then you hit the snooze button, that's an ITFT. If you say you'll stick to a budget and then you splurge on something, that's another one.
And these little micro failures, they compound against us.
They absolutely do. The more ITFTs you accumulate, the less your mind, your subconscious, which is the reality womb, the less it trusts you. And this directly decreases your ability to materialize large desires because the universe is interpreting your level of self-trust.
So the opposite must also be true.
It is. Every ability to follow through, every ATFT increases that internal trust. Making and keeping small conscious promises to yourself, getting up on time, meditating for just 5 minutes, reading that one chapter, that is the training ground.
Being your own benevolent dictator is the only way to dictate reality.
It's the only way. You have to prove to yourself that your word is bond.
That makes perfect sense. The ego is the vehicle, but it has to submit to our conscious direction.
And this submission, it's not trained by struggle. It's trained by stillness and by denial. The sources highlight practices like meditation, which builds your dominance over the ego's addiction to constant stimulation by forcing stillness and silence.
And things like fasting.
Fasting, which denies the ego a fundamental desire food, and that teaches patience and non-reaction. Or even just general silence, which suppresses the ego's desperate need for external attention and validation. These are tools to quiet the mind so you can hear the higher self.
And these practices, they help us access what the sources call heaven, which is defined not as a place we go to after we die, but as a state we achieve right now.
Exactly. It echoes Luke 17.21. The kingdom of God is within you. Heaven is a state of consciousness. It's inner calm, deep peace, fulfillment, desiring nothing because you feel completely whole.
And hell is the energetic opposite.
Hell is the polarity. It's survival mode, anxiety, inner chaos, being consumed by the ego's endless wants and needs, always chasing the next thing, the next hit of validation.
And this internal state has a direct, measurable neuroscientific connection to creation, doesn't it?
Oh, it's the key. It's the key to accessing the subconscious. When we're in hell or survival mode, we rarely relax. Our brain is producing these fast beta waves.
Which is our active, conscious, analytical mind.
Right, which is necessary for daily functioning, but it acts like a shield. It shields us from the subconscious. To access the subconscious, which is the womb of reality, we need slower, deeper states. We need alpha waves, which is like a relaxed daydreaming state.
Or light meditation.
Yes, and even deeper, theta waves, which you find in deep meditation or that state right before you fall asleep.
So relaxation isn't a luxury. It's not a treat. It's a mandatory prerequisite for creation.
It's the only way. It's the only way to bypass the critical conscious mind and plant the seeds of your desired reality directly into the subconscious soil.
This is why the sources point to Matthew 6.33, the heavenly order of manifestation.
Seek first the heavenly state calm, fulfilled, relaxed without your desire, and all these things will be added. If you can't achieve inner calm without the money or the partner, you will never attract those things. Your frequency remains anxious and needy.
Okay, we've established the necessary internal state, but there's still a massive social hurdle we have to get over. The necessity, as the sources put it, to prepare to be bad.
This is a tremendous and mostly hidden barrier to success. Materializing your desired reality often requires you to break the social contract.
What's the social contract?
It's the unconscious agreement we all make with the collective to gain love, acceptance, and approval by conforming to the norm, by not standing out too much. And this operates on 3 incredibly powerful levels.
What are those 3 levels of conformity?
First is the primal level. For our ancestors, belonging equaled survival. Exile from the tribe meant certain death. That primal fear still dictates our need for group acceptance today.
It's baked into our DNA.
It is. Second is the social level. This is the addiction to parental, peer, or societal approval. The need to be validated as a good, responsible person. And third is the energetic level.
A hive mind.
The collective hive mind, or mass consciousness. It works like a gravitational force, always attempting to pull anyone who rises back down to the baseline frequency of the collective.
And the really insidious part is that the characteristics we cherish as good person traits are the exact things that clip our own wings.
They're a trap. Absolutely. The good person is relatable. They avoid making others feel diminished or uncomfortable. They put others first. They know their place. They're humble.
But success is none of those things.
Success makes you unrelatable. People will start saying you've changed. Success often does cause others to feel diminished because they haven't achieved the same thing. True self-mastery requires you to prioritize yourself and your vision, which others will see as selfishness.
And you have to lift yourself beyond the collective baseline.
Which others will quickly label as arrogance.
So if success or wealth or power makes you feel guilty or uncomfortable because you're no longer conforming, you'll just unconsciously sabotage yourself to remain a good person in the eyes of the collective.
That guilt is the weapon of the social contract. The only solution is unapologetic acceptance. You have to make peace with the fact that success will lead to you being deemed bad or arrogant or unrelatable by the collective you are transcending.
And if you don't make peace with being different,
the fear of rejection or disapproval, the chaos that's associated with breaking that contract, it will completely corrupt your frequency and pull you right back down to conformity. Every time.
Okay, we've completed the internal preparation. Now we confront the core metaphysical law of materialization, which is the annoying law of the universe.
It's a very annoying law.
You can only have what you already have, and if you don't already have it, you can never have it. It sounds like a complete paradox, but it's an energetic truth.
It is the energetic puzzle that stops 99% of people. The key is just understanding that the universe interprets having as a state of consciousness, not as a physical object. Most people are stuck in the wanting trap. We can call it chair 1.
Okay, describe the wanting trap for us. Chair 1.
Wanting registers as importance. And importance is interpreted by the universe as creating a vast energetic space between you and your desire. When you desperately want money, your state is focused on the lack of money.
Wanting is a confession.
Wanting inherently confesses, I do not have this. And since the law dictates you can only have what you already have, the universe complies with your confession of lack. The harder you chase a scared animal, the faster it runs away from you.
So if I desperately need a new client to pay my bills, I'm actually repelling them because my needing is broadcasting this low frequency of lack and desperation.
Exactly. You have to occupy the having state. Chair 2, this is what we call vibrational possession. You have to embody the feeling, the state, the internal calm of your desired reality before the world proves it.
When I feel abundant, when I feel healthy, when I feel calm and capable.
You are in vibrational possession of those things, and the external world has no choice but to align itself to reflect that internal state. It has to.
This leads us directly to the secret frequency of not needing. You can't have what you need, but you can have anything you don't need.
This is the flow state. This is effortless creation. When you are anchored in your true mastered identity, you realize that the world has nothing external to offer you that you don't already possess internally.
You become the source, not the seeker.
And the moment you are the source, you stop chasing shadows. Think about it in your own life. The times you've misplaced your keys, you desperately search for them in a panic because you need them and you can't find them anywhere.
And then what happens?
Then you give up. You take a deep breath, you relax, you let go of the needing, and you instantly remember where they are. That momentary detachment is the power you need to consciously harness for everything else.
That effortlessness requires some profound internal power, though. It's not just letting go. The sources identify that power as conviction.
Conviction is the unshakable fuel for creation. It transcends mere belief into knowing.
What's the difference?
Belief, by its very definition, implies uncertainty. You wouldn't say you believe in gravity. You know it works. The faith of a mustard seed that's referenced in Matthew 17:20, that's about knowing, not just hoping.
Conviction is the certainty that moves mountains.
And it creates them when it's misdirected negatively, like the negative conviction that failure is inevitable for you. That creates a mountain of failure.
So if belief is weak, how do we build this robust, mountain-moving certainty?
Conviction is a reserve, and it's built entirely on self-trust. This loops right back to our discussion of ATFTs. Your mind measures your conviction by the evidence you provided it of your own internal command.
So every time I follow through on a promise to myself,
every ATFT, you are building concrete evidence that you are reliable and capable of commanding your reality. More evidence of self-command translates directly into more conviction, which translates into an unshakable knowing. If you can trust yourself, you can command reality.
And the final practical expression of this conviction is expectation.
Expectation is creation. It's that simple. Expectancy taps directly into knowing, confidence, and conviction. When you expect something, you anticipate it, and that anticipation is a form of prematerialization.
The universe interprets what I expect as what I'm actively asking for.
It does. There's a powerful historical illustration of this in the story from 2 Kings, where the prophet Elisha instructs 3 kings who are trapped in a barren desert to dig ditches for water.
They weren't just digging holes, were they? They were performing an act of faith.
It was pure faith. Elisha told them they would not see wind or rain, no external sign of causality whatsoever, but that the valley would be filled with water.
The psychological pressure of that must have been immense.
Imagine it. The environment is contradicting the instruction 100%. Yet they had to prepare the ditches, that's the act of preparation, as an expression of faith and expectancy before there was any sign of water.
That is the definition of commanding reality.
It is. You must dig your ditches, you must perform the preparatory actions, even when your current reality looks like a barren desert and your conscious mind is screaming at you, doubting where the flow is going to come from.
We've built the foundation, self-mastery and conviction, so now we can look at the full sequence of materialization. And the source asserts that manifestation isn't creation, but revelation.
This changes everything. Nothing is being created from scratch. Everything already exists within the infinite possibilities of the quantum field. Manifestation is simply revealing what is already within your potential.
How do we do that?
By achieving synchronistic alignment across the 3 planes of existence: mental, spiritual, and physical. If you rely only on the physical, plain, pure hard work, you create stagnation and exhaustion. You get that dreaded treadmill effect.
And the order of alignment is critical. It's non-violable.
Oh, it's absolutely non-violable. First, you must align the mental plane. You must hold the desired reality as if it already exists. Begin at the end. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The mirror of reality will never smile before you do.
And second,
the spiritual plane. You must recognize your infinite nature, the God within, to activate the power necessary for manifestation. To doubt yourself is considered the ultimate form of energetic blasphemy because you're doubting the very power of creation that resides in you.
And only then, after those two are aligned, does the physical plane come into play.
Yes, the physical plane action is the midwife that solidifies the creation. Action must always come last. If action comes first, you're acting from the old frequency, which can only reinforce the old reality. The mantra is simple: frequency first, action after.
This clarifies how we know exactly what steps to take. It's not a guessing game. It comes through this multi-dimensional sequence of flow.
That's right. The sequence is consciousness frequency, which leads to intuition, which downloads as mental nudges, which inspires action, which creates reality.
So my calibrated high frequency determines the quality of my intuition.
And that intuition downloads into specific, actionable mental nudges. An idea for a conversation, a phone call to make, a sudden urge to go to a certain place. These nudges lead to inspired action, and inspired action leads to the desired reality.
And if you're operating from the wrong frequency?
If you're operating from a fear-based frequency, even if you execute the right action, it will inevitably lead to the wrong reality. Your vibration will repel the good outcome, and crucially, your self-trust determines your ability to actually execute on those mental nudges. If you don't trust yourself, you'll just ignore the intuitive guidance.
This dynamic ties perfectly into how we interpret the world, what the sources call the perception projection loop.
It's the foundation of reality. You do not see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. Your current ingrained perception, your subconscious beliefs and opinions, acts as a tinted lens that determines the external projection, which is your physical reality.
Can you give us a strong example of how this loop reinforces a negative reality?
Of course. Consider someone who believes, based on past experience, that all romantic partners will eventually abandon them. This belief, this perception, causes them to project an energy of guardedness or insecurity or even unconscious aggression onto every single date.
They're looking for the exit before they've even said hello.
They are unconsciously testing, pushing away, or simply failing to recognize a good partner when one shows up. So when the person inevitably leaves, they champion that result as truth. They say, "See, I knew it." They confirmed their initial flawed perception.
They desired to be proven right about the negative outcome more than they desired the positive outcome.
And that reinforced the unwanted reality. The key is to consciously choose to perceive reality through the lens of your desired outcome, regardless of the current external data.
However, there's an ultimate limiter on all of this power, an energetic ceiling, which the sources identify as our self-worth.
Self-worth is the silent governor. It determines the absolute maximum limits of what you can materialize. You will always, always fall to your level of self-worth. If you do not know that you deserve the 8-figure income, the universe will find a way to make you lose it.
Because it's reflecting what I know to be true about myself.
It's reflecting what you know to be true. And self-worth isn't about consciously believing you deserve something. It's much deeper than that.
It's about knowing. It's a subconscious emotional experience.
It is. Past intense emotional experiences like growing up in poverty or suffering intense emotional abandonment or enduring toxic relationships. Those experiences set this emotional baseline, this deep-seated knowledge of what you're worth and what you're allowed to have. Conscious affirmations are totally ineffective if the subconscious knowledge contradicts them. So how do we lift this deeply rooted ceiling? How do we overwrite that subconscious knowledge?
We exploit a fundamental flaw in the mind. It cannot distinguish between reality and intensely felt imagination.
So we use imagination as a tool.
We have to. We must use intense, emotionally charged internal experiences, often through visualization or specific imaginative techniques, to create new emotional knowledge. You have to intensely visualize and feel the reality of abundance, of peace, of fulfillment. You have to incorporate detailed sensory and emotional input until the subconscious registers this imagined experience as real.
And that internal emotional experience overwrites what I know I deserve.
And that lifts the energetic ceiling.
This also requires our self-worth to be completely detached from any external validation.
Absolutely. If your worth is dependent on other people's approval, then they control your frequency. If it's dependent on your successes or failures, the duality of wins and losses, you subject yourself to reality's chaotic emotional roller coaster.
So I have to become the source of my own self-worth. You must become the source, recognizing it as innate, infinite, and completely detached from any external circumstance.
Okay, finally, what happens when we've done all this internal work, but the external reality inevitably produces adversity? Chaos is guaranteed to show up.
How you respond in that moment determines whether you reinforce the old frequency or you solidify the new one. First, and this is so important, give yourself grace.
Don't beat yourself up.
Never. Falling back into old patterns is the law of rhythm. Everything rises and falls, the energetic pendulum swings back and forth. Do not descend into guilt or frustration because those emotions are the food for the old frequency.
So what should I focus on instead?
Remember, you only fell because you rose first. Focus on those past rises, those ATFTs, those wins, to tap back into that high frequency energy. Second, transcend the label of wrong. When adversity hits, just state that it is. That's it. To label it as wrong or not working is to adhere to the illusion of polarity and create self-imposed detours. If you maintain the idea of your desired reality, all paths, including the difficult ones, will lead to that one place.
The external chaos is a powerful illusion then.
It is simply externalized power. And the final instruction is to stand calmly among the chaos. The strength creating the external chaos is your strength, just projected outwards.
So I need to redirect that power.
Redirect that power internally. Cultivate inner stillness and peace, and the external will eventually follow. The external waves can only be brought to stillness by the profound stillness inside of you, that state of heaven.
This has been a really profound journey. We've gone from battling this psychic old frequency to understanding the universal indifference to human morality to embracing this radical self-mastery through discipline and emotional control.
And finally realizing that manifestation isn't creating anything. It's the effortless revelation of an internal state you already possess.
The ultimate realization then is this shift in identity.
It's everything. The power you seek is never in external effects. It's not in the money, not in the business tactics, not in other people. Those are all merely reflections. They're shadows cast by your own consciousness.
So we have to refuse to make idols out of these effects.
You have to. And reclaim your position as the commander of your own consciousness. That is the only goal.
That really is the highest form of self-mastery. The universe will constantly try to gaslight you, won't it? It'll point to the market crash, the economy, the competition, your current lack of resources.
Anything.
To convince you that causality exists outside of yourself. It will lie and say, you need the external thing to feel good.
Do not fall for that gaslighting. You are and you always will be one with the source. When you reclaim that truth, the world stops being a problem to be fixed and becomes a canvas to be commanded.
The minute you decide you have it internally.
Reality has no choice but to reflect it externally.
When you are the source, you no longer chase shadows. You command reality. Go and outsmart reality.